Would Superman fail? No. Superman test screening, new test screening for reactions for WB could be sold if Superman fails. I don't think that Superman's gonna fail. My predictions for is 700 mil to 750 mil. That's the box office numbers that I personally think is gonna come out since this movie's coming out globally. Yeah, I haven't had time to actually dig into everything, but I've been seeing a lot of tweets on this from bad to good, from mediocre, test screening or whatever. So we're going to get right into the news and see what this video is all about. So without further ado, like, subscribe. If you dislike, you dislike. If you're rocking with your boy, relax. Okay, let's get into it.
James Gunn's first film of the new DC Universe's Chapter 1. Well, as it turns out, a lot more is riding on this than we thought. In fact, the fate of the entire studio, not DC Studios, but Warner Brothers Discovery, could be at jeopardy as well if Superman does not perform. Now,
that's crazy to me, to be honest with you.
Test screenings that recently happened for Superman, and luckily they are different than the...
Like, what's... If the movie fails, right? Like, what's the failing point of the movie? If it makes under 500 mil and the budget's like, I want to say the budget's like 250 with everything added to it, because they said that the budget's like 180, I think. I don't know about that, but I don't know what's a failure.
Ones that we heard in December. With these test screening reports, we also get a little bit more information about the overall tone of the movie and a few surprise characters that we could possibly see in the movie. And
surprise characters, hold up.
Brothers is planning to attend CinemaCon next month, so we have a little update on what DC plans to do at CinemaCon. So a lot of Superman news to break down. We're going to be talking about Superman and DC in general a lot more on the channel, so if you want to stay up to date on DC news, Marvel news, and more, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the latest updates. So here's a line from a recent report by Puck News, which is absolutely crazy to think about. They state, if Warner's can't finally make the DC franchise work, there is genuine fear that the studio will go the way of Fox, which was followed by Disney in 2019. Now, real quick, I want to address this because I think it's important to note that this isn't really saying that Disney is going to buy Warner Brothers. I've seen a lot of people think that, and I don't think that's what this is saying. At least I hope it's not. Can you imagine if Disney owned Marvel, Star Wars, and DC? I'm not actually sure if they would let them do that. That might make the studio...
Wouldn't that be a monopoly?
Way too much.
If they own so much
share in that space. But again, I don't think that's
that is a lot of IPs right there.
Is that Warner Brothers Discovery could get bought. They could be acquired by a larger conglomerate. So we knew that the box office performance and the fans' reaction to the new Superman movie was going to determine essentially where the new DC universe went. Will it be successful enough for everything that they have on their slate to work out and eventually come to fruition and we could see it on screen, or could it possibly be changed to do less, or could it possibly be cut short and Warner Brothers and DC Studios get sold to a large conglomerate? So as of right now, it kind of looks like Superman might not only determine the future of the new DC universe, but kind of the fate of Warner Brothers itself. That report from Puck detailed a lot of behind the scenes issues that the studio is facing, and they noted that Superman is under a, and I quote them here, staggering amount of pressure, end quote. So if it falls short of expectations, Warner Brothers could suffer the same fate as Fox. Now, it's really not a big surprise that the Superman movie is going to kind of determine where DC Studios goes. That was kind of a given, but it is a little alarming to hear that the entire fate of Warner Brothers is on the line here. Luckily, however, for
like that's
the
what I'm
studio
saying,
and the fans, we have heard some information about the new test screenings they've done, and what we're hearing is that the movie is good. So great news here, because when they did test screenings in December, we heard that the movie wasn't received very well. However, now we have very different reports. In a report from the very popular Portuguese fan DC site, DC da Depressão, this is what we've heard about the new test screenings. Nicholas Hoult is great as Lex Luthor. And
not surprised by that.
We've heard this before from the previous test screening, so this all still lines up, which is great. They continue and state the VFX/CGI looks a lot better than it did in the first trailer, which is
that's what I'm talking about.
I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy.
I can't wait to see that.
Now, I do want to note though that we are not specifically talking about that one extra clip that they released after the trailer where Superman is flying and he does some spins and kind of goes through some mountains and his eyes look a little bit off.
Yeah.
I don't think they're referring to that because according to James Gunn, no CGI was involved in that with his face. That
with
is.
the backlash that they got,
done to his face. So for that
they might fix
particular
it,
scene, I'm not
to
sure
be
if
honest.
they've done anything to kind of change that, but a lot of fans did point out that his eyes looked a little off. But overall, it sounds like
Wide
With
lens
Verizon,
screen.
when you bundle mobile and home internet, you save $15 a month and can get the entertainment you love.
the overall quality
Wide
of the
lens
effects and CGI
screen is
has
what they're saying.
improved, and they've had more time to work
James
on
Gunn
it, so
said.
this makes sense, which is great. Then they do
Yeah.
say that there are some surprise villains in the movie. That's great
Oh?
that they've been able to keep those under wraps.
Villains?
It says Rachel Brosnahan is funny and adorable as Lois Lane, and I do believe
Brainiac. I hope Brainiac. Come on.
that she's going to be a great Lois Lane. When they cast her for the role, I thought that she was actually a really great casting there. Now,
Yo, looking at these pictures, like, there's a lot going on in this movie.
here is where we kind of get some Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, which of course James Gunn wrote and directed all the
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Not
before
surprised
he went
he's-
over to DC. The report
not that
continues
deep.
and says there is quite a bit of humor as well as more emotional moments. And here's
Okay.
something very interesting that they
What's wrong with
say.
that?
They say the tone is said to be closer to the first Wonder Woman film and the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. Now, first and foremost, I'm really glad that the tone is said to be closer to the first Wonder Woman film and
I
not
did read
the
that.
second Wonder Woman film. The first Wonder
nah.
Woman movie is
Was
one
fantastic.
of my ultimate favorite comic book movies. It's great. It has flaws, but it's great. And the first
great,
Guardians
yeah.
of the Galaxy film was fantastic.
I just didn't like the
Well,
actor, but
probably
it was
my
good.
personal favorite Guardians film. And like I said, James Gunn directed it and he wrote it, so it makes sense that that would bleed a little into Superman. And these movies are generally regarded as really great movies. So if Superman has the tone of those movies, that is great news. Now, John Campea said that he has heard personally that the movie is tremendously good. He was also told the same
Tremendously.
thing, that it was emotional and funny with more
Oh.
sci-fi elements than you might expect.
Like I said, in the background, I hope Brainiac is here. Because what on earth could that be? It ain't Goku and Vegeta, but it might be like Brainiac's ship or something.
And I think we kind of got a little glimpse into this with the first trailer where we saw Superman in his apartment with Lois Lane, and in the background we saw a big fight going on, and that looked pretty sci-fi. Plus we know Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl and a bunch of
Like,
other
what's
heroes
happening
are
in
going
that
to be
scene?
in this movie. So a little more sci-fi than we thought was going to be in the film makes a lot of sense. And by the way, speaking of Guy Gardner, if you did not hear recently, Nathan Fillion talked about his character.
I did
Guy
read this
Gardner,
part.
and he said,
Yep.
he's a jerk. What's
yeah, I
important
read
to
that
know is
this
you
morning.
don't have to be good to be a Green Lantern. You just have to be fearless. So Guy Gardner is fearless, and he's not very good. He's
That's just
not
so
nice,
funny.
which is very freeing as an actor because you just think to yourself, what is the most selfish, self-serving thing I can do in this moment? And that's the answer. That's what you do in that moment. I think if he has a superpower, it might be his overconfidence in that he thinks he could take on Superman. He can't. So maybe we actually do get a brief moment of Guy Gardner kind of spatting with Superman, maybe a little tiny fight here, which I think would be really cool to see. And with that comic accurate bowl cut, it is kind of funny to hear that this character is overconfident. But this really excites me. I'm really looking forward to this. Now, a Toy Leak listing does list
Toy
Ultraman.
leaks, huh?
So as most people have
Ultraman.
probably assumed already, we can expect Ultraman to appear in the movie, most likely. The Toy Leak also says that there is a Lex Luthor with a baby kaiju, and this is most likely going to be a younger version of the kaiju from the teaser trailer. So that kaiju wreaking havoc on Superman and the city, that might be Lex's doing, which of course doesn't come as a surprise at all.
Not surprised by
last but
that.
not
Trying to make
least, as I
Superman look
mentioned,
bad.
CinemaCon. Warner Brothers does have a panel. Right now they are scheduled for April 1st from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. PDT. And the Hollywood Reporter has reported that DC Studios plans on making a splash at CinemaCon, so expect some pretty big reveals from them. Obviously some more Superman footage, but possibly some footage of other things that they're doing, maybe Supergirl. And considering that a lot is riding on Superman and kind of the hype of DC Studios, it makes total sense that they're gonna go big to get the hype as big as they possibly can to get people in the seats, in the theater, to go see Superman. Now, I
Yep.
for one think it's gonna be a fantastic movie, at least I'm hoping. I do trust James Gunn. He's done great with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. If he brings that over to DC for Superman, I think it's gonna be fantastic. But hey, go ahead, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments.
All right, so let me know what you guys think about that. You think it's gonna fail? You think it's gonna flop? Fail, flop, same thing. Let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, dislike if you dislike it. Relax, okay, it's out. Peace.